Hello, Jamila. It's really great to hear from you. My name is Rhonda Kitchens. I'm your librarian, and I'm glad to help you. The first thing I want to do, though, I'm going to move some things around on my computer. I may stop and start this. You may not notice this in general, but I want you to know the first thing I started to do, and this is what I always do for my own work, is I kind of look at my question and some of the things about it, and I see school. I don't know if school is primary, middle, or high school. I'm just going to put that there because it may have some other things around it. Prevention as well. Programs, I put that out there, and effective. I'm going to kind of look at those words and look at other words around this to kind of build an effective array of keywords to use for this. I will also try to spell effective correctly. I'm looking at it. I can't see what's wrong with it. Anyway, so I'm going to go to library resources. I'm in Campus Commons. I go to library resources. When I'm doing my full-on research, I totally skip this business. What this does is search the databases, but it doesn't restrict itself. It does sort of to scholarly, but it's not the most effective search. I want to pinpoint this immediately and kind of come up with some really good keywords. So I'm going to go to the database list. For education, we do have a subject section called education, and it does have some good things for you. And some of these are not all scholarly articles. For example, we have the Chronicle of Higher Education, and of course the videos. These are helpful. And also we have ebooks and books here that also may help you with this question. But I'm assuming here you need scholarly articles for this particular assignment. So what I'm going to do is select Academic Search Complete. Now, Academic Search Complete is a very broad database. It goes from everywhere from astronomy to zoology, but I'm going to make it even better. I'm going to go here where it says Choose Databases, and I'm going to add education. Excuse me, I know it's down here, education source. And you know what? Just because I don't know, I'm going to add in psych articles. That way we have a little bit of everything. You also have the issue of you might be able to do criminal justice abstracts. Now what I'm doing, well, EBSCO is a publisher. You can sort of think of it like Netflix or Hulu, and what we have is like EBSCO and ProQuest and a few others. But in a way they all have the same thing. They do have a selection of scholarly articles, but one may be heavy on documentaries, one may be heavy on this, that, or the other. And sometimes there's some overlap, but one of the reasons I may pick one over the other, and I usually choose EBSCO first, is because of the search. It really helps me kind of define the search. I kind of go broad and then I kind of narrow it down. So I'm not going to include criminal justice abstracts here. I'm just going to use these three and select OK. Now I'm going to put in some of your terms. You're looking for drug prevention programs. And we do have drug prevention programs in schools. It already comes up as a search. And I'm just going to go there without making it any smaller. Now the first thing I do in my search is I go through these search results. And mainly what I'm looking at is the subject section. I see drug abuse prevention. Okay, drug abuse prevention. And on the side, I'll show you what I'm doing with this in a minute. I see adolescent psychology. When we're working, sometimes if you end up like focusing on teens, there's a thing where you really have to include a bunch of different things. Like you have to include teen, teenagers, adolescents, and all these other terms. I'm going to hopefully show you here a way to do that with an asterisk that that will help you out. I'm going to have some ums in here. I hope that's all right. I'm kind of doing this live. What else do I have here? School health services, public schools. This is Brazil. You have to imagine, does this count or not count for you? I'm going to pull some other things over here. And when we talk about drug abuse, are we worried about marijuana or worried about binge drinking? Because yes, sometimes you can find things that are there, but not particularly under drug in general. Now here we go. I love a meta-analysis. Actually, I love systematic reviews. When we're looking at research and we see something, there's a systematic review. What this does is bring together a huge, well, I'd say at least 10, usually a quantity of qualitative and quantitative researches, and they compare how they actually did the research and their methods, and they come up with a list of best practices from those. Often they're used in evidence-based practice. So when you see a systematic review or a meta-analysis, that's like really interesting. This is meta-analysis provides decades of evidence, effective school-based drug prevention programs. Now, when you get to this, one of the most awesome things you can do is when you see the studies, write down where the title of those studies, and you can go and find those individual studies and read them yourself. So I'm really loving this meta-analysis drug prevention. I'm going to kind of put this on our notes to make sure that you look this one up, because that's really going to get you started. There are certain things that will get you jump started on it. A literature review on a topic will get you rolling, and a systematic review will get you just to that research you need. All right, we're talking about athletes to promote. This talks a little bit about the marketing section. It has health education, school health services. I'll just kind of put that over here under programs. And I'll show you all that business in a minute. Substance abuse prevention, that goes to, instead of saying drug, it may be another word. I'm really doing this kind of wildly here. Elite athletes, repeated measures, design, financing of research, prevention of alcoholism. We have prevention here. All right, let's keep rolling. Effects of school-based drug use prevention program. We can see from here, it's probably from England or Eastern Europe for middle school. Oh, they're in Taiwan. Educational outcomes. That's usually a very interesting search thing, because sometimes we can find all these different pieces of research, but not always outcomes. This talks about marketing. I'm going to put that down. You don't have that in your question, but it might have something to do with it. And test implementation of drug prevention study without drugs. Oh, we're doing pre and post testing. This might talk about how when we're running programs, pre and post testing, does that help it become more effective? I think we have this covered. We have this covered. Teaching methods, drug side effects, blah, blah, blah. Not so interesting there. Okay. Effectiveness of the Healthy School and Drugs Prevention Program. Is this again in Taiwan? We don't know. This actually lists out the drugs and stuff. I'm going to kind of put that over there. It is specific about adolescents, and I hope there you see what I mean by adolescent and adolescence and teen and teenager. I'm going to put that baby over here too, so that I can show you how I deal with having all these different ideas that mean the same thing. All right, assessment of Education for Life program, prevention of drug use for middle school and high school students, blah, 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 education, blah, self-esteem. Well, that's interesting. Human rights, alcohol, drinking, computers, internet, tobacco. Oh, this is gold right here. A systematic review of school-based alcohol and drug prevention programs facilitated by computers or the internet. Ah, this is a beautiful one. I'm just going to copy that title since we found this together. Anyway, I hope you can see just from that very simple search, we have quite a few. But in general, let me talk about what's also over here. I did not narrow it down to year at this point, but usually you need to have the past 3 to 5 years. Some of the things I pulled may be old, but you may be looking at an overview that is not going to be the past 5 years. You'd like to perhaps know for the past couple of decades. So you'll use your own guide on how to do this. While most of these did appear to come up in full text, in some cases they do not. You can select that, and usually that is good for, like if you're doing a discussion post, but you're working on something long term. So when you see look for full text, it's going to do one of two things. It's going to take you to another database that has it in full text, or it's going to take you here to Iliad. Please, if you have not signed up for Iliad, that is our interlibrary loan service, please do so. You should get this article, we hope, within 2 weeks or less if we're able to get it. So do not let that stop you in your research, because you need to start collecting all of this work if this is the topic you continue to work on. Implementation of prevention programs in public school settings. All of these are quite awesome. Let me go to the systematic review. Again, I was telling you about. Did I leave it? No, I might have lost it. So I hope you could see from there. Okay, so scholarly peer reviewed. I sort of got myself lost there. We want to make sure there's that, but you'll see that these are in academic journals, and this is a warning. The best thing that this database can do is tell you that it is in a scholarly peer-reviewed journal. However, the article itself could be a book review, a letter to the editor, so you got to make sure it has all those parts. Usually it has one or more authors, it's definitely in a journal, it has more than 5 pages, if it has a digital object identifier, oh yeah, it probably is. It's going to have images, you're going to be able to see the transparency, the math, you're going to know who they included and who they unincluded, so to speak, they did not use. The inclusions and exclusions, I guess I should say. It's going to have a literature review, which is a rich area for you to look at other articles that you should look at, but mainly when you're citing from that particular article, you're working with the conclusions and other pieces that are underneath the methodology. And at the end, it has a list of references. So when you see an article that has all those pieces, and I know this does just from here, that is a scholarly article. You can also select for references available. Sometimes that strips out the story of my first day on the job, or letters to the editor, or a book review. But sometimes book reviews can have references, so make sure you take care to look at that. I'm going to kind of go into this for you just to make sure you see what this meta-analysis may have. It's going to talk about all sorts of, it's going to actually, in this case, it may help you understand how one would look at effectiveness, which I think is really interesting when you find an article that helps you tighten up and gives you different ways of looking at things. Oh, this is really awesome. Anyway, so it compares all these different ideas and crunches them together and gives you a list of things that may be useful. It looks like in this case they decided that the small group prevention programs were really great. So that might be very helpful for you when you look at it. And instead of just doing one thing, they compare several different research pieces together. So that is one of the things that you can do. I'm at 11 minutes. I could probably give you more ideas, but it looks like you will have quite a bit to work with at this point. You can always reach back and talk to me. I'm going to clean up my list of things that I pulled out a little bit, and I hope this was helpful.